How can you set up your environment for success? Keeping in mind that success is any definition you have in mind. If success for you looks like being an amazing runner, then that's success. If success is running a seven-figure business, then that's success. If success means having a healthy and fulfilling relationship, that's success. And it could be each and every one of them. How can you enable a great environment around you in order to be successful? There's several key elements that really make a difference when it comes to your environment and that you can use every single day, mold around you so that you can have this success. Begins by your peer group. First and foremost, start to surround yourself by people who have achieved or about to achieve or getting close to achieving the results that you'd like to see in your business, in your health, in your life. Ideally, when you work out and decide which peer group you'd like, try to find people who aren't 10 steps ahead, but 2 steps ahead. If they're too far ahead, it will get discouraging. You won't keep up. You'll feel like a failure. You'll feel like you don't belong in the group. And ultimately, that won't really motivate you. So let's say you've just begun your own business. You don't know what you're doing. You're earning zero every single month. And then you're surrounding yourself by people who have 7+ figure businesses. Unless you're able to take that huge leap and start to think like them, which is possible, more likely than not that you'll feel discouraged, that you won't be able to follow up, that maybe even they have really expensive way of spending their money in business on big marketing schemes, and you've just begun, so you can't keep track. I know that when I began, I had, for instance, a conversation with someone who used to work as a marketing director in a really big company, and he was giving me marketing advice when I just started off, and it wasn't at all relevant, because things like paid ads and ClickFunnels and all the rest, when you just begin, that's not the best marketing strategy. Of course, it's organic, you build it up from the ground, etc. Then you get to paid ad stage, but it's later on. So that's the same idea here. If you're with people who are 10 steps ahead, this will maybe hold you back or discourage you. Now, if instead they're 2 steps ahead, just a bit further, let's say you've just begun and they've had their own business for 6 months to a year, maybe 2 years. It gives you idea, gives you inspiration, gives you a clear direction, gives you tools that you can use, and that can help you to move forward. On the other hand, it's also nice to be the mentor or coach of people who are 2 steps backwards. So as you grow, let's say you've had your own business for 5-10 years. I'm using here the example of business. It could be running and fitness, can be anything. If you're a runner, for instance, you might want to have people who are doing Ironman when you're marathon levels, but also having some friends who are doing half marathons, again, maybe not who are starting off, the gap's too big, and then inspiring them. So it's important to keep in mind as you grow in your journey, fantastic to surround yourself with people who boost you and move you forward, but also remember to support and enable the others, because they also need a peer group to move them forward. And you also learn by mentoring, teaching, and being with them. And it reminds you also of how far you've come, which is pretty great as a high achiever, because we tend not to celebrate that enough. I recently had this experience when I was on a mastermind call and I was speaking with women who started their business for less than a year. And I suddenly thought, wow, yes, I remember going through those phases of doubt, uncertainty, not seeing the progress. And it was nice to realize that my situation had shifted and how my business had changed over time. So it's quite nice also to help and support people who are starting off on that journey, and likewise still have people who inspire you and move you forward. How can you find your peer group? Well, be inventive, imaginative, try things out. For me, I know that having the podcast has really helped, because the people I've interviewed on the podcast have often been a couple of steps ahead of me in terms of business or mindset or leadership or in one or another area. And that has helped me to think differently. But it can be an online group. It can be a group in person in your town. You can create it. Find people who inspire you and you feel are 1 or 2 steps forward, and then either hire them, work with them, or try and create an online group or community, or in person. Having a coach and a mentor is also a fantastic way of having a strong peer group that moves you forward, because they enable you to see what potential you have and how you can tap into it. And again, when you hire a coach, hire someone who's ahead in whatever it is, business or what have you. If, for instance, you were starting out with a fitness coach, you wouldn't work with a fitness coach who wasn't as fit as you, right? That doesn't make any sense. So if you were working with a fitness coach, you'd go with someone who was fitter or had more habits, practice, lifestyle of being healthy and fit. Same in business, same in all areas. So this is the first tip for setting up your environment for success. Really, the peer group thing, the more I look into this, the more I realize pretty much every single day now how much spending a whole week with these people, spending a whole week with these people, spending a whole week with other people shifts my mindset, my priorities, what I focus on, how I work, how much I work out, or everything is shifted based on who you spend time with. The second element is make sure your physical space is something that inspires you and lifts your vibration. If you can't choose your physical space, then try and add a few elements that give you this idea and inspiration, and start to look which places inspire you most. Do you like working from cafes? Do you like traveling, going to different places? Do you enjoy having a fixed co-work? If you're working from home, what touches, elements, even music, things that inspire you and lift your vibration? This is because our physical space impacts our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, how we function every day. And so you need a physical space that takes you to the next level. And the last part of having an environment that enables you to have greater success is the information you consume. In a similar way to your peer group, all the information, all the content, the books, the podcasts, even the TV series, the blogs, the newsletters, the social media people, all of this consciously and subconsciously creates an image of what is good for you and the direction for you to go in. If, for instance, you're aiming to be, again, a great athlete, and you're watching TV series where everyone's couch potato, this is a caricature, this will diminish your drive. It's so subconscious, it's so subtle, we don't feel it, but it does have an impact and it does change the way we think. So start to notice, what are you watching? What are you reading? What are you listening to? Again, this is why I love podcasts. I also listen to podcasts. It changes my mindset. It changes what I'm willing to tolerate. It changes my perspective, my views, and it enables me to think differently. And then we subconsciously want to become more like those people. So if you're 24/7 listening to personal growth podcasts or leadership or high performance, and you're listening to these people and the way they think and the way they formulate things and their perspectives, you will start to think that way and you will start to become that way. So this can be a great asset if that's the direction you want to go in, but it can also have a tremendous downfall if all you're doing is scrolling Instagram, watching the news and watching TV series that don't promote the values that are actually important for you. Might be entertaining, might be fun, might be an enjoyable watch, but it might bring your energy down and it might not go in the direction you wish to go. So this is when you do a little inventory. Where's your information coming from? What are you watching, reading, listening to? What needs to go? What needs to go? Let's start to declutter the information. And what needs to stay, or what do you need to do more of? Total game changer. So let's wrap up. Peer group, peer group, peer group. I can't say this enough. And it doesn't mean you need to cut out all people who aren't 2 steps ahead or supporting your goals. It just means please invite some of those people in your life. And if you can't, that goes to the other aspect we've just been covering, which is what information are you listening to, watching, or reading, and how is that aligned with your 2 step forwards. And last but not least, look at your environment, look at your physical space, and see, is this supporting your growth? Is this making you feel inspired? Is it making you feel like you're thriving and taking your whole energy and vibration to the next level? Thank you so much for tuning in. Enjoy tapping into your new environment that sets you up for next level and always leveling up. We don't want to get too comfortable, and we always want to be growing and thriving and improving. Thank you so much for tuning in.